Welcome to part 2 of our 5-part renovation of the living room, kitchen, and dining room. Now you might be saying to yourself, Casey, you just did this yesterday. And to you, I might say, you are right, and thank you for watching so closely to realize that. So over the last 3.5 weeks, I've done the renovation that you're about to see. But I did this yesterday because it's an awesome backdrop, and I just wanted to introduce you to my buddy Everett. Everett has been with me since the 7th grade, and he's been the center point of any space that I've been permitted to decorate. Permitted being the primary word. That's why he's out here in the shop with me. Enough talking about the shop. You came here to see a video of renovating and following a honey-do list. That's what we're about to do. Let's get to it. Okay, so part 1 of this renovation and part 2 of this renovation overlap a little bit because you can see the oven is still in the wall. But I had to remove all of this to get the oven out of the wall to put it in the cabinet. Now what you're gonna see me do here with this sheetrock is something I'm doing in this entire video. I'm taking this apart so meticulously because I want it off in one piece. And it's so successful. It's so satisfying when that pops off. So rather than demoing and beating things up and going a little bit faster, I decided to take my time a little bit. 1, because it's a living renovation, and 2, man, there's just something satisfying about taking off big sections of all of this stuff at once. You know, you don't think as you're putting this up that it'll ever come down so easily because we built this house and we did all of this tile work, but it just pops off in one giant sheet. And it keeps on coming off pretty easily in large sections. I didn't want to show you the whole thing. All that came off pretty easily. To this point of the island, peninsula, however you want to call it, I start pulling off all of this tile very carefully, very much piece by piece until I get to the outlet. And at that point, I decide maybe I can give it a shot to work on the granite. Big mistake. Because little did I know, just a little bit of seal was hanging onto that granite. And you could probably just see it right there. It gave on the left side, but not on the right. So it split right down the middle. At any rate, had to take the rest of that off. Now it was time to get off the big, large piece of granite. That wasn't exactly film worthy, but my wife kicking in this wall definitely is. She wasn't about to let me have all the fun. She had to get in the mix. We start peeling off drywall, and quickly we get to the faux fireplace that is existing. But before, let me tell you about the renovation, because previously, this is renovation 2. Our house originally was built with stairs in the middle of this space. But as you can see, the couch is up there against the banister. And when my oldest daughter was a baby, I saw her peer over that banister and I said, oh no, thank you. We are not gonna have stairs in the middle of our floor. We're gonna patch them in. We're gonna patch in the floor. And then with that bulky space behind the oven, I had to build a faux fireplace. So we went ahead and got some leftover stone from the outside and made us a nice living room fireplace. Until it's time to take her down. But here's what's awesome. They come off in all these giant sheets, just like you're seeing. They come off in such big sections. And they were a little difficult to get started, but they just pop right off. The hardest part was this one. I didn't show everything, but I scratched into the floor a little bit and we dollied her out to the dumpster out back. Then we moved over to the left side of the fireplace, and man, this side just gave me fits. And we'll end up coming back to it. But what I want to prepare you for is I'm going to go to the raw audio. I'm going to leave the narration because the dialogue between my wife and I on the face of this fireplace is hilarious.
First of all, your outfit. You are not being paid. No, but you're going to have it more control than it's going to fall on me. I'm doing it.
No, it's just...
Can you pull and let it fall like that? As you walk out, just bring it and let it fall flat. You got it. That's what you need to do.
Yep.
Yep. Do it. That's good.
Well, you are... Here, look. We're doing it one more time. You go this way. Go up. Believe it or not, at one point in life, we were both quite athletic. But those days have since passed, I do believe. So let's move on to what I'm doing now. I have to build 2 temporary walls to support either side of the wall that I'm taking down, just so the ceiling doesn't fall in and crush everything below. Ultimately, I just really want everything to be seamless. And this might be overkill using all these jack studs. Is that the right name? Jack studs? Yeah, jack posts. All these jack posts so that I can insert later my jack studs that hold up the LVL. So yes, inserting, I think I used 10 jack posts all in all, and Guys Local Hardware just allowed me to borrow them. I didn't have to buy them. They're just like, yeah, use them, bring them back. Not all of them were the height necessary to suit my ceiling. So you'll see at the top of these jack posts some blocks. On one of them, I think I got about an 18-inch block because it was only a 7-foot jack post for my 9-foot ceiling. So let's get along to what we're doing now. Just using the Sawzall to cut up everything that I can safely cut up. Cutting out a lot of studs. I tell you what, the guy Dan that built my house, the guy's Italian and overbuilds everything, which I'm thankful for because the house is extremely well built. But I'll tell you what, I had a lot of 2x4s that I had to remove that probably were not structurally necessary. So it just made it for some fun demo. We get to pulling everything out. I'm pulling out here a header that's going to be replaced. Right where that header comes out is the start of the LVL that will span that space. So right now I'm just going to Sawzall the existing LVL that is shorter than the LVL that I'm going to be replacing. Had to saw up through that because this was jack studded at 2 different locations. There was jack studs and king studs in 2 spots on this. I breezed past all of the LVL install, mostly because I really didn't know what I was doing for that part of the install. Secondarily, I forgot to turn on the camera. That just to be fair. And we were doing this all day on a Sunday afternoon. But now you get to watch my wife and I take down these jack posts and really open up the space. I had 2x6s on the top and bottom of these jack posts just so it didn't gnarl up the floor and scratch up the ceiling. And they're kind of a dual purpose because I will be using these 2x6s later in part 3 of the renovation if you can stay tuned. And look at my excitement. The opening looks beautiful. Now this part was a little tricky because I'm cutting through, this is the platform that the oven previously sat on. And when I get down to this last part, when I was up in the attic moving things around, the post that I left was definitely the main point of carrying weight. But this one, it looked like it carried a lot of weight. At any rate, I got her out of there. It didn't carry as much weight as it looked like. And now we get into piecing the floor together. This was not a task for the faint of heart. It was basically like a zipper merge in traffic. And if you know anything about zipper merges, they are slow and tedious and take much longer than they should. You're just filling a single space. But I had to go left of the wall on one run of boards and right on the wall on another run of boards. I had to split boards down the middle to get them out. And then I had to pry them out because they're stapled in with staples the size of my thumb. And they are held in there tightly. But with a little bit of effort, a little bit of patience, a little bit of know-how, I guess, we cut her out. Now, I get rid of the under parchment paper, the vapor barrier, if you will, because I had to cut off a lot of the tongue and grooving. So getting rid of tongue and grooving mean I gotta glue this sucker down to the Advantech. And I had to really squeeze it in. Pounded this block in. It looks really easy, and I edited out a lot of this, but it took some carving, but she got in. After I patched in the floor, I had a vent right on the edge of the wall. That is where a vent should be, but now that vent is in the middle of this space, like right in the middle of the room. So I wanted to make it out of something that would be recessed, something that would blend, and I have this thermally modified ash that I've built stuff out of. I chose thermally modified ash for one specific reason. The cellulose in this wood is removed through the drying process. So the expansion and contraction that occurs in normal wood doesn't happen in this. So I cut her up, I got my dimensions, I get me a brown Sharpie, color the edges that I cut, pound on it, and put it in place. It doesn't look at that lighting like it blends in, but look, she blends nicely. And then now we're on to drywall. You see right there is a doorway next to a post. Well, that doorway is going to get closed in. And basically that's what I'm going to show you me doing here. I'm scoring drywall. These were 12-foot lengths of drywall, so I had to cut them down to 9 foot to fit them into my kitchen because I have 9-foot ceilings in the kitchen. My use of the laser here is my favorite use of the laser because I am marking out where the outlets are on the top side and the right side of the outlet. And then I'm able to easily just cut out with my multi-tool. I had to draw the other two sides obviously, but multi-tool makes it just pop out real easily and makes for clean cuts that make me look like I know what I'm doing as a drywaller. I know there's probably other tricks, but this one worked really efficiently and everything lined up pretty nice. And then we moved on. I head over to the other side. I'm just covering up what was a pass-through from the dining room into the kitchen, no longer necessary, and I wanted to complete that wall. So we start cutting up more drywall. I had to bump out over here on this side because I moved outlets to this side of the wall, and I needed to have a place to set the outlet and let it rest. So I used my fancy laser method, traced them all out, cut it all out again. Little multi-tool is very useful, makes it really easy work. Please don't look at the first mistake on the left outlet. I patched that in with some drywall. Actually, I didn't patch it in. My wife does wonderful drywall work. She patched it in. And we got that one fitting snugly and perfectly. Yes, there was a gray wall in our house before. Moving right along, she's opened. Guess what? I skipped a video this time also. The trim work. Let me tell you about this trim. When we demoed, we deconstructed. We saved every single piece of trim. I didn't buy the first piece of trim to redo this opening. This was all existing stuff. And just like that, the project is done. All right, so that wraps up part 2 of the 5-part video series in which we're just updating our living space. The dining room, living room, kitchen. Part 1 was the cabinet right here, so if you haven't seen that just yet, go watch that video. Part 2 was by far the most expansive because I had to build 2 faux walls, I had to put it in LVL, I had to patch in some floor, and the rest of it just won't be that expensive. If you want to know what we're doing on the next video, stay tuned. Like, subscribe, follow. I post reels, I post stories. I try to keep it as quick and as updated as I can, and I gotta get this moving along because you don't want to be losing information. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching.